I think I'm non-binary. The darkness of night, laying in bed together, made it easier to tell my wife. It was only the second time I had said the words out loud after practicing in the mirror earlier that day. I was scared the admission would hurt our relationship, that a change in my identity after 7 years together might be too much. But now that I knew who I was, I couldn't keep the secret for much longer. I didn't know what was worse, the fear of losing her or the feeling of living with a secret. But I told her in the hope that maybe I could keep both my identity and our relationship. That's okay, she told me. It doesn't change anything about how I feel. Not exactly sure where the shame came from. It wasn't from my upbringing. My parents raised us, encouraging us to pursue even our craziest ideas. Maybe it was organized religion, the Christian group I was part of in college that told my wife and I we couldn't advertise the church we went to because they accepted gay people. I couldn't see it then, but that church is the closest thing to the Jesus I read about in the Bible that I'd ever seen. It's a church that welcomed unhoused people for a warm coffee on Sunday mornings, that let gay people serve as deacons, that let women be pastors. Instead, I devoted 3 nights a week to a college Christian group, a group that bought us all books called What the Bible Teaches on Homosexuality, a group whose official stance on LGBTQ orientations was love the sinner, hate the sin. As if you can truly love someone if you hate a part of their natural-born identity. Or maybe it was the world that taught me shame, living in a country where half of the population would vote to take away the rights of queer people. Regardless of the reason, I carried shame into that moment. But when I heard acceptance from my wife, the healing process started. No? Oh. Growing up, I had a feminine side that I often embraced. Between the clip-on earrings, My Little Pony toys, and preference for musicians like Paramore and Avril Lavigne, I always knew I wasn't like the other boys. But as much as my music taste and political views aligned with punk culture, I was a conformist. I cared more about making others' lives easy than about imposing my own needs. A relationship involves sacrifice. But when you suppress yourself out of fear of inconveniencing your partner, you're only hurting both of you. It's a selfish desire to avoid conflict that gives way to something worse, disconnect. In an attempt to avoid the acute pain of rejection, you rob both of yourselves of the opportunity to know and love the real you. You rob both of yourselves of the opportunity for true, meaningful, messy human connection. I know this because coming out in a long-term relationship is not a one-time decision. Once I was over the big hill coming out about my identity, it turned into dozens of little moments, little coming outs. Telling them you're no longer comfortable with some of the old nicknames you used to use, or that you'll never go back to the old haircut you had when you met. Telling them that they're not the same person you were when you first laid eyes on each other, and hoping that they can still love the new version of you. Shame as a queer person tells you that you're not worth prioritizing, that you should be embarrassed of who you are. Every day I wake up with 2 choices: to listen to the voice of shame or to listen to my own voice. It used to be hard to choose, but the more I chose the latter, the easier it became and the quieter the voice of shame became. As the joy of being my authentic self, of finally letting myself take up space grows, the decision of which voice to listen to gets easier. And as I continue to receive acceptance and love in my relationship, choosing that voice gets easier. And if you continue to choose the authentic voice, the voice of your true self, you might just find that looking back, you and your shame were the ones causing disconnect in your relationship, not the identity that you were so afraid would.